Oh, God. You spooked me there for a minute, friend and family. Haven't had you in the old country kitchen in a while. I sort of suspected you might be around today, being Sunday. Y'all know how I cook. Of course, now, kitties were out front on the front porch. And I'm just surprised they didn't alert me to y'all coming on up the front steps, as y'all saw. But anyway, glad to have you here with us today. And I guess my last video, with the one before that, when we were talking about the kitties, you know, I showed you what we'd be cooking today. Had it started to lay out on the counter. Many of y'all guessed. And many of y'all were right. It could have been one of two things. Some of you guessed chili mac. And it sure could have been. But there was a few things missing. But the rest of y'all got it dead on. And that's goulash. And that's what we're going to be having. And that was something my family had back when I was growing up, in the 50s and 60s especially, when we were extremely poor. And that, we were a little better off in the 70s, right about the point I was leaving home. So we had goulash at least, sometimes once a week or twice a month, depending on money, situation, and what we had on hand. And there's a difference between American style goulash and Hungarian style. And my great grandmother, she made Hungarian style. Where my grandmother and my mother and my daddy, they made American style. So, as I show you what we gotta have to put this all together and some variations of it, because everybody's got their own recipe, trust me that. But we'll talk a little bit more about that, okay? So, let me show you what you're going to at least need, or variations of it. So come on with me. Let's take a look at all this. So as you can see, I got a whole variety of things laid out now. You don't need all of this. That's why we're going to talk about some variations in that. And of course, now, we're going to talk about American style and that versus Hungarian style. Now in American style, almost all the families in my family, maybe yours was different, cooked the American type, which was with ground beef. And that's what we got right here. We got some of that 7327. And that's another thing that sort of perturbs me about goulash recipes, especially the ones that say they're from back in the Great Depression. And that, because to be honest, that's where the American style of goulash was actually born. It's a poor people's meal, and one that was used as an extender, which we'll talk about a little bit too. But they didn't have 80-20. Oh, I'm sure it was there. They didn't buy it. They didn't have 95-5. They bought the cheapest hamburger there was. And I know my family always bought the 7327, which I think back in the day was actually 70-30. So you're going to need a good pound of that. And that's another thing I'll say. It depended on what time of the month, if we used a whole pound, or Mama might use a half a pound. Lord knows she might even only use a quarter pound. And then what you're going to need is some noodles. And most of the ladies in my family, my grandmothers and my mama, they'd use this Elbow Macaroni. And the way they would work it, it was always 1 part of meat to 2 or 3 or even 4 parts of macaroni. Yep, that's where the extender comes in. It's poor folk food, folks. A little bit of meat and a whole lot of noodles. But what we're going to be using today, because times ain't that tough right now, they may get that way. We're going to be using 1 pound of meat and 16 ounces or 1 pound of elbow macaroni. And that. Now the Hungarian style goulash, like my great grandmother made, didn't use ground meat. It used cubed up beef and veal. Yep, sure did. And I think she was actually from Poland. And that was on my mother's side. On my daddy's side, all the family was from, well, like my great-grandfather used to get perturbed and say we were Prussian. But now, most would know and call us family origins being German. Just don't tell great-grandfather that. So those are the two base ingredients. Then you're going to need a nice onion, small to medium. I'm going to be using that medium yellow onion right there. You're going to need some garlic. Now I'm going to be using fresh garlic today, 4 or 6 cloves of that. But Mama would most likely have used the garlic powder and that, which you can do. And grandmother should be more apt to use the garlic powder. And then they would use the onion powder. But as you can see, I got fresh on hand, so I'm going to be using that. Then I've got a couple of green bell peppers I just picked, about 30 minutes ago. And I'll be dicing them up and throwing them in too. You don't got to, but when we had them, they go in the pot as well. I also like to put a little celery in mine. At least 2 stalks. I just like the flavor of it. Now, Mama, Grandmama, they would have never added celery. But I like to put celery in it. Now, we'll start down the list. You're going to need some type of stock. Now you could use water and beef bouillon cubes. That's what they would have used. I just happen to have some 32 ounces of beef stock on hand. And I know Mama used beef bouillon and water, which if you're going to use beef bouillon, a cup is 8 ounces. And it's 1 bouillon cube to 8 ounces of water. 1 cup. So you'd make 4 cups of that for 32 ounces. Equal beef broth. Of course, beef broth is going to be way better. You're going to need some tomatoes. Oh yeah. And we always use the stewed tomatoes. And I'd use my own secret recipe, but I done ate them all. So I'm going to be using up a can of them. And I think that's a 14.5 ounce can. And there are times too when I'll use meat instead of stewed. I'll use rotel, or I'll use both the stewed and a can of rotel. Depends on how tomatoey I want it. Then you're going to need some tomato sauce, at least 1 can. You want more tomato, you can put your 2 in. I'll be using 1 today. But if you don't got tomato sauce and you got tomato paste on hand, it'll work just as fine. Now, 1 6-ounce can of tomato paste take you about 1.5 cups of water, and add it together, and it'll be more than equivalent. Or you can use 2 cups of water to 1 can, 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. Then we're going to need some salt. We're just using old non-iodized table salt. Some pure ground black pepper. Some Italian seasoning right there. Some parsley flakes. Like I said, you know, if you don't got fresh garlic or onion, you can use powders. Now, depending on what time of year it was, spring, summer, fall, or winter, Mom and Daddy might put in this crushed red pepper. Yep. they like to heat it up a little bit when it got cold in the winter. Or cayenne pepper. Add a little heat to it. And of course you're going to need some Worcestershire sauce. Now as far as peppers go, if you have some nice fine red ripe hot peppers like these Anaheims here, or Cowhorn, or even jalapenos, habaneros, or what have you, you can dice some of that up and throw in there. So here again, even our goulash changed throughout the season. But you don't need it all. I just wanted to talk about some variations and some substitutes today. So I'm going to get this here cleared back to just what we're going to be using today. And you'll see it as we put it all together. And as always, you're going to need your cutting board, a nice sharp knife, some measuring spoons, and a nice big pot, because we're going to make a pot pool. We're going to eat some tonight, save a little in the fridge for a couple of meals this coming week, and most likely package some up in quart freezer bags to have later on. So let's get it started. Gotta find Trix, because she said she's going to cut up celery and the green peppers. I'm starting to doubt that. And we'll come on back. Well, y'all, as you can see, me and old Trix got everything chopped and diced up. We got our celery diced up here to nice small chop. That's 2 stalks. We got those 2 small green bell peppers chopped on up small. 1 medium onion, sure did. That's just a gorgeous plate of veggies all by itself. Then over here in this nice little stainless steel dish, we got 6 cloves of fresh garlic, minced, and 1 Cowhorn pepper. Yep, just gonna go 1, seeds and all. That should give it plenty of spice. You know, it's getting chillier down here in the south, so that should add some spice to it. So everything's ready now. So now it's time to get that ground beef going. In the pot we got heating up on the stove. So we'll set y'all up and we'll get this going on. Okay, y'all, we got our nice big pot here on the back burner, getting it on heated up with medium heat on the old gas range here. We're just going to plop off in there this 1 pound of ground meat. Yep, right here. See it? Right here. Beautiful looking stuff from, of course, Superfoods. We're just going to plop it on in there, and that till it's nice and sizzling. And just so y'all know, that we paid $1.99 a pound, if y'all can see that right there. Maybe can't. So it wasn't too bad. So there you go. We got that 1 pound in there, and I know y'all can't see down the bottom of the pot. All we doing is breaking that up, so starting to sizzle a little bit. I'll bring you over here. Let you stare down in the pot if you want to. As long as you know, can't let y'all fall in none. But we just got to break her all up so that nice ground beef, all nice and fresh and red there. Now it was frozen, because Lord, it's back on, what was that, September 19th? We went to Superfoods last and bought it. And I think I took y'all along with me. Showed you a bunch of prices. And that. So we're just getting this all chopped up in that pot with our little spatula. And that. Now we ain't gonna turn it into crumbles. We're gonna leave it, you know, a little bit on the chunky side. Yep. Even I have a little hard time cooking down this here big old pot. Plus, old man don't see all too well now. Not like he used to. But I think y'all know how to brown your burger, don't you? If you don't, you need old Mr. Tom do your basic video on browning ground meat, not graying it, browning it. Because, hey, where's the flavor, folks? Flavor's in the brown. Yes, sir. Not just turn it gray, like so many people do. We'll get our old little nifty light here that we use so y'all can see better. Oh yeah, I love the smell. The ground meat cooking in the pot. I'll bring you over here and show you, okay? See? It's on there, starting to sizzle. Woo! As soon as it gets nice and brown, we're gonna have to start adding in the veggies right there. And getting us some of that beef broth thrown in there. And start adding in our tomatoes, our sauce, and our seasonings. So let me get this here ground meat all browned off, and we'll be back. Okay? Well, y'all, I think we got that ground beef just about brown, son. I don't know if the camera's going to really pick it up, but you'll be able to smell it. Let me bring y'all over here and show you. Because I'm telling you, if you brown your ground beef, and I don't care whether you're making tacos, beef goulash, lasagna with it, whatever. You need to brown it. Let me show y'all. Okay, I got you right here. And I'm not sure this old GoPro's showing it real well. Let me, oh, but you see it right there? See that brown on it? Sorry, old Mr. Tom's shaking. That's what happens when you get old. That's what you want. That's where the flavor's at. Now I didn't drain that little bit of fat off in there, see? And a whole lot. Let me put y'all back over here before y'all get burned by that pot and grease. So like always, you want that brown in there. Now, we're ready to add in our plateful of small chopped or diced veggies right there. So we're going to try to do that without creating a huge mess. And we're just going to dump them on in there with that brown burger right now. Yep, we are. Just like that. We're going to get them all off that plate. We're going to put our garlic in right now. But that was the celery and onion and green bell pepper. Yep. We want it to go on in there and grab a hold of all that meat flavor. Yep. And it's going to start sweating, you know. And it'll start letting out some of its moisture too. We're just going to turn that heat down just a touch. Down to about a 5. Had on a 6. Because we were getting impatient. We're going to let that start sweating down a little bit. Soaking up all that meat goodness. Yep. We're going to put in just a touch right now, not all of it, of beef stock. Just a little bit, give it a little bit of moisture. Right here, just a little bit. Just till we hear that sizzle. And we're going to mix her up a little bit more. Just keep us from burning anything. We're just going to let them veggies sweat down just a little bit. Ooh, doggy. I'm going to tell you what, this house is starting to fill up with some flavor. Yes, sir. Trix wasn't asleep right now. She be in here wanting some of that burger, which I saved her a little bit. And I saved some for the kitty crew too. See? Look on in there. You can see the sizzling in there. Yep. We're just going to leave it on in there for about, 7, 8, 10 minutes. Soaking up that meat goodness. Yes, we are. And then we'll dump on in the rest of that there beef stock. And we'll start throwing in some seasoning. As well as, once we get the beef stock in there and the seasoning, we'll dump in our garlic. And that chopped up, fully ripened cowhorn pepper. Which, I mean, if you don't got, you could use crushed red pepper flakes or cayenne pepper. Whew, starting to smell good in this house. I'm already hungry. Okay, y'all, we've had that celery and onion and green bell pepper in there with that meat, sweating it down, releasing its juices off. With that about, it's probably a half cup beef stock. Now it's ready to start adding in the seasoning. So we're going to show you what it looks like. And we're going to start putting that seasoning on in there. You see there what it looks like? Onions just starting to turn translucent. Green bell pepper just getting a touch soft as that celery is. So now, let's start adding some seasoning to this, okay? Still cooking it on medium. On 5 on my range. Might be different on y'all's. So the first thing we're going to drop on in there is a teaspoon of salt. As I always tell y'all, of course my salt's done got sort of clumped up there. So we're going to put that teaspoon of salt in there. Uh-oh. Timer's going off. I had that set just so the old man wouldn't forget. We're going to drop a teaspoon of salt in there. Later on, if you want to add more, you can. But as always, you can't take it out. Nope. Sure can't. Next thing we're going to put in there is we're going to put us in a half teaspoon of ground black pepper. Yeah, right there. You see? Right there. And never fear, you can always increase the seasoning once it all gets together. Next thing we got to be doing is putting us in a tablespoon. Yep. Good old tablespoon. Sort of level of Italian seasoning. Yep. Or you could just use basil if you want to. All we're doing is enhancing that tomato flavor. Next, we're going to pop on in there a nice heaping teaspoon of parsley flakes. Yep, we sure are. Got that on in there. And that. And lastly, but not leastly, we got to put some of that there Worcestershire sauce in there. Because there's flavor in that. Yep, so we're going to put that Worcestershire on in there. We're going to put this in 1 tablespoon. We're going to put this in 2nd tablespoon. And now, oops, made a mess on the stove. 3 nice tablespoons of Worcestershire sauce. And then we're going to give it a nice stir right now to incorporate all those spices on in there. And then what we got to do, we got to take our minced garlic and our minced Calhoun peppers. Get them on in there too. Almost forgot them. Get all that goodness out of this little bowl. Got that in there. Ooh. Ooh, it's starting to look colorful too. Those Calhoun peppers on in there. Everything's still cooking. And the meat juices and the beef stock. So we're going to take the remainder of our beef stock and dump it on in there. The whole 32 ounces. So see, all the seasonings on in there. And you can see those chopped up red pepper in there from that Calhoun. Look color. Oh, this smells simply marvelous. Because Trixie woke up. She's in the kitchen now. So, now, let's see, there's Trixie over there at the feed station going, where's my hamburger? So now we got to start dumping in some tomato goodness. So now's the time to put just that can of tomato sauce on in there. And like I said, that was 15 ounces. Yep, and we're going to get a little water. Rinse this can out, okay? It'll be okay. And we're just going to give it a little twirl to get that leftover tomato sauce on out of this can. We don't want to leave nothing left behind, or as little as possible. See, like right there, nice clean can. Only thing left to do now is add in the stewed maters. And then we're going to let this all come up to a nice little low boil, because we're going to be cooking our macaroni right in this pot. Now I know other people cook their macaroni in another pot, then put it in after they drain it. Not on Mr. Tom. See, I want my macaroni to pick up all that flavor. Yep, soak it on up. Now, before we dump these stewed tomatoes in there, I'm going to tell you, when I opened up the can, they were in halves and quarters. No, that ain't what you want. You want them sort of diced on up. I know, many of y'all are going to say, well, that's why I just use diced tomatoes. Ain't the same. There's a whole big difference with stewed. In the flavor, trust me. So I use one of these little neat, a lot of the women on my channel last time I showed them what else I use it for, called a pastry cutter. I don't make much pastry. I use it, chop up soft things, and it works just great to get those maters all chopped up into nice little pieces right there. Sure does. And that. Now, see, we can just dump that on it. See, nice small pieces. Just a little pro tip there for y'all. There we have it. And that's what we got right now going on. We got our tomato sauce. We got our stewed tomatoes in there. Our beef stock. All our seasoning. And everything. And that, we're just going to bring this up to just a light boil before we dump in the macaroni. We're getting close to the finish line. So, I've got that up to a nice boil. Now it's time to add in our macaroni, and this is where I go a little bit different from a lot of people. And if you want to do your macaroni in another pot or one, you go right ahead. But you see, we got just boiled now. I'm just going to take that pound bag of macaroni and dump it right on in there. I'm going to give it a stir. Oh, timer went off again. Yep. And now, I don't want my macaroni cooking for long. Nope. I sure don't. We're going to put the lid back on. And we're going to set our timer for just 5 minutes. Yep. And then we're going to pull this off the heat. Because you don't want to cook your macaroni till it's falling apart. But that macaroni's on in there right now. Cooking with all that tomato goodness. All of our seasonings. Veggies. And meat flavor. Not just some plain old water. I mean, my God. Trust me. This makes it really tasty macaroni. Okay? Well, y'all, it's been going for 5 minutes. Now we're going to turn the heat off. And that. And we're going to get it off that burner. We're going to bring it right over here. We're going to let her set. Now, understand that macaroni is going to keep cooking for a bit. That's why we only go 5 minutes. Okay? We don't want mushy macaroni. And while it's sitting here cooling a bit, and that macaroni finishes off, we're going to get some green onions cleaned up to go with it. You know, spring onions. And we're going to butter up some bread. Now, this will also be great with cornbread. But I ain't going there tonight. I'm going to do it just like we had it back in the day. Just some buttered white bread. So once we get a bowl up here plated up, get everything put together, we'll bring you all back for a taste test. I can already tell you, the smell is just fabulous. The house smells amazing. Just look at that right there. You see that? And that's a big old pot. It's a little bit past half full. I could eat on this all week. And I probably will. Save enough to put in the fridge for 3 or 4 meals. And bag up the rest to put in the freezer. So like I said, once I get a bowl of it spooned up, ladled up, get everything ready, we'll taste some. I've already checked the seasoning. And it was spot on. And that one cow horn I threw on in there, that was just enough just to give it just a touch of heat. Yep, just warm your mouth up and warm your belly up. Okay, well, we got our green onions cleaned up and our bread buttered up. See how that macaroni's done? It continued to cook while it was sitting over here waiting on me. and I've already given it one taste test. The macaroni is perfect and not overcooked. And you couldn't hardly see that macaroni before. It was underneath the surface of the liquid. But look at it now. And now this pot ain't half full. It's 3/4 full. So let's get some thrown in a bowl. And we'll give you a taste test. And I'll have another one too. Okay, we dished this up a bowl. Just look at that. It's colorful too. With the green bell in there. And those chopped up cow horn peppers. Got this little buttered bread over there now. I wish I hadn't been lazy and made some cornbread. That's on me. And I got me about 5 spring onions there. They're small. They'll still be tasty. So, you see that right there? Go ahead. Now blow on it. Blow some more. What y'all think? Is that not some of the best goulash y'all ever had? So y'all, now I gotta give it the final taste test. The aroma is simply amazing. Like I said, I sort of cheated. Already had me a spoonful. Check those seasonings. Now it's the final. That is flavorful. And just a touch of spice to make it nice. Heat up the old mouth and the belly too. Because like I said, it's getting cooler these days. So y'all, now I gotta head on in there and enjoy this. I'll watch some YouTube videos. Maybe Southern Boy Prepper put up a new video. Or Alaska Prepper. I think I already watched all of Lone Star Pioneer's latest videos. But maybe y'all will try this and let me know what you think. And y'all, till we see you on the next video, y'all take care out there. Stay safe as always. And may God bless you, your families, and loved ones. Goodbye for now. Oh yeah, I'm hungry. It's nearly 7 at night. Time to eat, folks. Later all.